Hey everybody, welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Daniel, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to play Crokinole. Now these little pucks are called buttons, and in a game of Crokinole, players are going to take turns flicking their buttons from opposite sides of the board, scoring points by getting your button into the center hole or by the position of your buttons at the end of the game. In this video, we're going to go over the basic rules of the game, and once you're familiar with the basic rules, we have a ton of other Crokinole content coming out on the channel where we go through all kinds of different techniques, from beginner to advanced. We do coaching sessions and more with Jeremy Tracey, the maker of Tracey boards and a world-class Crokinole player. To set up the game, each player is going to take 8 buttons in the color of their choice, and they're going to sit on opposite sides of the board. The outer ring is divided into 4 sections, and you're going to be shooting from opposite sections. So if I'm shooting from here, you're going to shoot from this side. On your turn, you're going to put your button on the outer line of your section. You're going to flick it. You can shoot from anywhere in your section as long as part of your button is still in your section and touching the outer line. So I can shoot from all the way over here if I want because part of my button is still in my section. And where you aim is going to depend on what's already on the board. But before we get into that, I want to explain a term that you're going to hear a lot in this and our other Crokinole videos, and that is involved in the shot, which just means that a button was contacted or moved as a result of the shot. So if the board is clean and I flick it, there's only one button involved in the shot. But if I have another button here and I flick that and it makes contact with that other button, both of those are involved in the shot. And if I have a third one and they all make contact, all 3 of these are involved in the shot. If I only make contact with one, it's only those 2, and this button is not involved in the shot. So there's 2 basic scenarios that you're going to run into when it's your turn to shoot. Either the other player has a button on the board or they don't. If the other player doesn't have any buttons on the board, one of your buttons involved in the shot must end in the center ring or at least touching the line. If it goes short, long, or bounces out and it's not in the center ring or at least touching the line, it immediately comes off the board and goes in the gutter. If you already have one or more of your buttons on the board, you can use your shooter to knock that button into the center ring. But if the other player has no buttons on the board, at least one of the buttons involved in the shot has to end in the center ring or touching the line. If none of the buttons involved in the shot end in the center ring or touching the line, they all come off. So if I hit that one, in this scenario, neither of those are in the center or touching the line, and the other player has no buttons on the board, both of these would come off. So be careful when you're knocking buttons into other buttons because you could lose a lot in one turn. If the other player does have a button on the board, then you have to make contact with at least one of their buttons on your shot. It doesn't matter where you end up. You don't have to end in the center ring. You just have to make contact. And same as before, you can knock one of your other buttons into their button, but one of your buttons involved in the shot has to contact one of their buttons. If you don't make contact with one of their buttons, then all of your buttons involved in the shot come off the board. So if I try to knock this button into that button and they both miss, both of these come off the board. So those are the 2 key scenarios of where you need to shoot. If the other player isn't on the board, get one of your buttons in the middle. And if the other player is on the board, make contact with one of their buttons. If at any point a button leaves the board or ends touching the outer line, it immediately comes off and goes in the gutter. So each player is going to take turns shooting until everyone is out of buttons, and then it's time to score. The center hole of the board is worth 20 points. If you ever get one of your buttons in the 20 hole, you immediately remove it and set it aside, and it's worth 20 points at the end of the game. All other scoring is based on where your buttons are at the end of the game, meaning if you have a button in the center circle and the other player knocks it off the board, it doesn't score any points. At the end of the game, any buttons in the center circle are worth 15 points, buttons in the second circle are worth 10 points, and buttons in the outer circle are worth 5. If a button is touching a line, it's worth the lower points. So with this button, even though it's mostly in the middle, it's touching the line and it's worth 10 points. Any buttons on the outer line are worth 0 and should be removed immediately. There's 2 ways to score a game of Crokinole. You can use cumulative scoring or tournament scoring. With cumulative scoring, you subtract the lower points from the higher points and the winner gets the difference. So if I score 60 points and you score 20, I would get 40 points, and typically you would play to 100 points. With tournament scoring, each game is worth 2 points no matter how many points were actually scored in the game, and the winner gets 2 points and you would play a total of 5 games. Once you score, gather all your buttons back and get ready for the next game, alternating first player each game. And that's Crokinole. And again, these are just the basic rules, and we have about a dozen more videos coming out over the next few weeks that we shot with Jeremy Tracey from Tracey Boards when he was in town. And those include both beginner and advanced strategy tips, as well as some actual gameplay. And we did coaching sessions where he coached me through actual games, gave me a lot of do-overs and mulligans so I could really lock in the concepts of the game. Those were all extremely helpful for me, and I hope they'll be just as helpful for you as we all try to get better at Crokinole. We'll leave links below to those other videos as they come out, as well as links to where you can get yourself a Tracey board or look at those if you're interested. Not a sponsor, I just really love their boards. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.